There you go. Go for it.
Thank you very much. Nice to see everybody. So my name's David Luke, Solution Architect within NGINX. I'm sure you've all heard of NGINX. We've had a very aggressive, in a good way, marketing campaign in the last 2-3 years. So I'm hoping that nearly everyone here has at least heard of us. We come from a background of originally a web server in the open source community way back 10 or 11 years ago. And since then, that evolved to be use cases where the actual request flows through NGINX and onto somewhere else, rather than ending at NGINX. So the kind of web server thing is still widely deployed in probably 1 million plus websites over the world. But in recent years, we've moved more into the space where we're actually proxying those requests through. So that's given rise to a number of really good use cases. API Gateway is a huge one for us now. That's a very popular with customers. We've added a control plane layer, which also backs that up. Also physical load balancer replacement. Some of the big guys, I won't mention their names, big red boxes in racks that do application delivery control. We can offer a software-only alternative. We're fully agnostic to any cloud provider, any technology provider. We play nicely with Red Hat OpenShift. We also play nicely with bare metal Kubernetes or any of the other different cloud-based implementations. So that's a little bit of background on us. But a key piece of value that we provide in this particular environment, which we're all here to talk about today, is of course the router. And you can see that little green hexagon in the middle that says N+. NGINX Plus is the commercial version of our product. The open source is still alive and well, it's still very strong. What NGINX Plus gives you is, as well as the class-leading technical support piece, it also gives you a number of enterprise-grade features that enable you to actually deploy NGINX in an enterprise environment. Things like service discovery, high availability, and a number of other features over and above that to give you what enterprises are commonly asking for over the top of the open source version. So why is the OpenShift router important, and why is the NGINX Plus version of that important? It's a very, very simple concept. It's your one way in to any OpenShift cluster. So if you think about that from a practical perspective, let's say you've got, like in this example, a 4-node cluster. Okay, that's not all, just in fact 4 pods there. It doesn't show the number of nodes. But let's say I've got some customers who say to me, we're going to scale to a 50-node cluster in the next 12 months. So suddenly, the router is now handling all of the traffic. It's your single way in to that cluster, which is going to, and we're going to see clusters scale in the next few years to very large volumes of nodes, which affects every company that's just presented and everybody in this room as we see that start to happen in the real world. So performance is not, high performance is something which everyone mentions, and you hear it 100 times a day. I even saw a cistern in Screwfix Direct for a toilet that was high performance. So it's become marketing speak, but what does it actually mean? For us, it's actually about, you've got this OpenShift router, it's handling thousands of SSL terminations, it's doing path-based routing, host-based routing, it's doing service discovery. You might have that pod there in app 3 suddenly decides to grow to 8 pods with an auto-scaling event. So you've got a lot of things going on. And you've got massive traffic volumes and complex operations on each of those requests coming into the router and then going out to wherever it's destined inside your ever-growing cluster according to your business need and scale. So it is performance critical. That's the one piece of the ecosystem that is the most performance critical, is the router. And that's why we think NGINX Plus is the right solution for that. It was originally written in the C language 10 years ago. The first version came out simply in response to what was then called the C10K problem, which is how can you have 10,000 concurrent connections on a single instance of a process running inside Linux and actually get it to work and not consume 1 million threads or all of the CPU load or flood the network ports with unnecessary traffic. So that was the core philosophy of NGINX all those years ago, and it continues to this day. It's still written in C. It's still, I think, the RPM installer package is 3.8 megabytes for NGINX Plus. So that kind of lean, mean, high-performance architecture is still at its core. And that's why, when you deploy it as your single point of entry for all this traffic, doing all those SSL terminations, API gateway, other complex use cases, including the service discovery and load balancing and auto-scaling support. All those and more functions performed in this tiny little module that just comes in and out of your cluster. So that's the core reason, and that's the one reason, even if you're not considering the various enterprise-grade features here. I mean, we do have a feature comparison matrix, and it shows you, the things that we can do versus the default HA proxy implementation, and also we have our open source implementation. So, but this aside, this doesn't actually contain the one piece which I find important, which is the performance. This is the one area in the whole of the OpenShift ecosystem where high performance is not just a nice buzzword, it's absolutely critical. So that's why we're here today, and that's why we're focusing on this specific piece of the ecosystem. You can, of course, use NGINX in other areas. You can use it as a sidecar proxy, put it inside every pod to do east-west SSL mutual TLS. You can also use it as a web server in the classic deployment that it was originally designed for all those years ago. You can also even use it outside the cluster as a physical application delivery controller replacement. So we're right through the ecosystem, and you can use NGINX Plus in all of those scenarios. But the one specific piece of value just for OpenShift is, of course, the router. So that's the bit I want to focus on today. We're over in, I can't remember which room it is, but it's the one on the left when you come in through the front door. I'm sure you know where that one is. It's, how do I do it?
It's that time.
Yeah, this is it. I've overrun. So come and see us. We'd love to see you. Cheers.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.